deadlock. When I got a wristwatch, cop another wristband. Anytime I risk my life, clocking out a TikTok, watch it all on TikTok.
It's you and me. Pass the dutchie on the left hand side. Pass the dutchie on the left hand side. It a go bun.
If you protest the 4th of July, a day that not only represents but also includes your freedoms and liberties, you're completely uneducated.
See, I don't like that because my education on our nation's history and founding is exactly why I don't celebrate the 4th. Let me explain. At the same time our nation declared all men are created equal, we were enslaving black people and committing genocides against indigenous people in our country. The same white men, because they were only white men who signed a document saying all men were created equal, were slave owners and white nationalists. The third stanza of our nation's national anthem that we don't sing talks about the slaughter of colonial marines. Colonial marines being black slaves that the British offered freedom to if they fought against the American cause. Let's ask those slaves how free and equal they felt. In fact, let's ask the indigenous men, women, and children slaughtered at Wounded Knee and countless other massacres how free and equal they felt. The reason I don't celebrate the 4th is not because I'm uneducated, but rather that I don't want to celebrate the legacy of a country that never lived up to the principles which it professed. And I'm not going to celebrate the myth of American freedom and exceptionalism. So yeah, absolutely fuck that. But anyway, have a good day.
Alright folks, it's time to evaluate our flags for being good wives. On the red flag side, we have atheist, nihilist, or feminist. I don't know why that's all under one bullet point. Vegan, knows how to twerk, thinks babies are bad for the environment, listens to Cardi B and that other woman rapper, has purple, green, or blue hair, wears a nose ring, cat lady, drinks alcohol, smokes weed. Now on this list, I think I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3... 8, I believe. On the green flags, we have traditional Christian, steak fajita enthusiast, knows how to bake, loves babies and wants to have as many as possible, listens to Thomas Sowell audiobooks, has really super long, healthy natural hair, wears sundresses, goat lady, drinks herbal tea, and churns butter. Now on the green flags, I feel like, I don't know, I know how to bake. I do like babies. I don't know if I want to have as many as possible, but I like babies. My hair's natural. It's not super long. I wear sundresses sometimes. Goat lady? I don't know what that is. Is it someone who likes baby goats? I like baby goats. And I do drink herbal tea. And I have churned butter, but it's not something I do, like, as a habit. I don't know. What are your flags?
Y'all know how strikes work? Obviously, they don't want you to know how to strike, so they don't teach us that in school. They love to talk about strikes and historical strikes, and we talk about strikes in the news, but I'm not sure if we know how strikes work. Your strike is not going to be effective if the only people who are striking are the people who can afford it. That's not how the strategy around the foundation of the philosophy of a strike, it's not how it works. There's actually not a big enough demographic of masses or working class people who can actually afford to strike long enough that it would be an effective strategy to actually push the state into what you're trying to get them to do. Because an effective strike can last upwards of months. When preparing for a strike, which sometimes can take, again, 6 months to a year and a half to actually prepare and stock up the resources that you need to actually go on strike, you have to have those already set up so the people who can't afford to go on strike can still go on strike. Oftentimes these are called strike funds, and it's a requirement so that people can last the war of attrition over time that it takes to actually be able to effectively run a strike. If you are in the demographic of people who can afford to strike right now, meaning that you have enough funds in your savings to probably be able to support yourself for, I would say 6 to 8 months, actually. then actually one of the most effective things that you could do for the future would be to put that money aside in a group or community or collective strike fund for your local physical community. So you could help out others around you and not expect individuals to have to bring their own resources to a collectivist strategy. And the best way to actually do this is to build the interpersonal relationships with the individuals within community, and then the resources will come. The buildings, the water, it will come. You have to build the relationships first. And don't limit yourself to geographical locations. You can move all the people you want to the community y'all want to live in. It doesn't have to be the physical people around you right now. Effective strategy comes from not just knowing how and why it works, but having a purpose in action.
You are on my Reformed Republican TikTok series, things that I used to believe when I was a Republican and why I don't now. Follow if this is something you're interested in. Today's topic is the American flag. I used to think it was so disrespectful to do things like burn the flag. Also see the recent video I posted on the flag burning. Then I read the US flag code. There's an entire section on respect for the flag. No other flag or pennant shall be placed above on the same level to the right of the flag of the United States of America. Kinda like this. The flag should never be carried flat or horizontally, but always aloft and free. I present to you American sporting events. The flag should never be used as wearing apparel, bedding, or drapery. You know, like this. The flag should never be used for advertising purposes in any manner whatsoever. Should not be printed or otherwise impressed on paper napkins or boxes or anything that is designed for temporary use and discard. You know, like literally every 4th of July picnic. Drapery also refers to draping over your shoulders, like this dude at a Trump rally. Colors should be the same, you shouldn't deface the flag. Like this, and this, and this. Until you read the flag code, don't want about disrespect.
My veil came off and my hair is showing, so I'm gonna fix it, guys. And this is how I fix my veil. So guys, you can see this is how it happens. I'm tying my veil now, and my hijab is on properly, I think. There we go. And voila!
I like to practice reverse racism, which means I give people of color special treatment over white people.
Okay, for the final time, my personhood is not invalid because I'm trans. My personhood is invalid because I'm a gamer.
She like petty crimes, she had green eyes like Mountain Dew. And where she go, I'll never know.
I think a lot of skinny people on this app not only piss me off in general, but piss me off when they constantly gaslight and diminish the experiences that plus-size people have in this planet. I'm someone who's been skinny my whole life. What people are trying to say is that it's not that being skinny is easy, or that it's great all the time, or that people treat you great all the time. You can get eating disorders, there's anorexia, and there's all kinds of things that come with being a skinny person. It's not easy. Nothing is easy in this world. But being a fat person, being a plus-size person in this world, comes with not only systematic oppression, but dehumanization, shame, and bullying like we've never seen before. This is even worse if you're also queer, you're also like a person of color, you're dark skinned. The more marginalization you add to it makes it even worse. Plus-size people are treated like less than.
I love that they wrote this without a trace of irony.
Got nothing in my brain. Got nothing in my brain.
Breaking news, the US Supreme Court has just issued one of the most horrific and dystopian rulings in history. The Supreme Court has ruled to gut a lifeline for prisoners who were wrongfully convicted, even when new evidence shows that they were innocent of the crime they were convicted of. Ruling 6-3, the right-wing Supreme Court said that new evidence that was previously not admitted due to ineffective legal counsel cannot be used to exonerate anyone. This means that even if a prisoner or an inmate can prove that they were completely innocent and had no fault for their conviction, tough luck. And the theory used to uphold this barbaric ruling is the same theory used to uphold slavery: states' rights. Per Justice Thomas, states apparently have a right to execute people even when they are innocent. Since 1972, over 1,500 Americans have been executed, and 187 of them were later exonerated. Disproportionately black and brown, 11% of all people America has executed were innocent the whole time. This is your pro-life Supreme Court.
God, the effects of decommunization in the education system of the Baltic states and other former Soviet states have had disastrous fucking effects on their population's intelligence. Holy fucking shit. I'm gonna bully you because you're being transphobic in my fucking comments, so it's justified. Like, where is your head at, babe? Are you accusing Nazis of being socialists? And if so, why does Estonia celebrate members of their SS and other Nazis in their countries as anti-communist national heroes? Are you making the astute observation that fascism grew in Germany and Italy, and to an extent in Imperial Japan, as a reaction to the rising movements of workers against capitalism, because fascism is capitalism in decay, which led to them becoming extremely powerful and trying to demolish socialism all over the world? And if so, that isn't the argument against socialism that you think it is, especially since the USSR was the one that fucking defeated the Nazis. Or are you like, well, they were trying to take away our capital, so we had to fucking kill the Jews and the Roma? Like, what is your fucking logic saying this shit? Because it's literally just ahistorical Holocaust denial bullshit. It literally is. It just goes into the trope of the double genocide myth that Baltic states have been pushing for the past, 30 years now since the fall of the USSR, to try to diminish the role that Baltic nationalists had in the Holocaust, and trying to blame everything on socialism so that fascism looks more appealing. What is your fucking justification for this? Because this is fucking stupid.
Okay, give me a slushie.
We're gonna be on for you today?
And can I also have a small blue raspberry slushie?
A sausage McMuffin?
Okay, this could actually be a really cool education moment. So if you don't know me yet, hi, I'm Kayla, and I have albinism, which means I have no pigment in my hair, skin, and eyes, more commonly referred to as albino. And a lot of people don't know that people with albinism are visually impaired. We cannot see very well. I'm extremely nearsighted and have to be super duper close to things to be able to see them. Another side effect of having albinism is nystagmus. It's where your eyes move back and forth uncontrollably. Additionally, the lack of pigmentation makes you super sensitive to bright lights, like a ring light. So it's safe to say that putting on eyeliner is a challenge for me. Eyeliner takes a lot of precision, so I can't really get close enough to ever see the precise lines of the eyeliner. Also, imagine you're trying to put eyeliner on when your eye is wiggling back and forth, like your literal eyelid is moving. And eyeliner requires really good lighting, which my eyes are super sensitive to. But now you know, so remember to be kind, and honestly, if you have any eyeliner tips, I would love to hear them.
Exposing our woke science teacher.
What did I do?
Look at this. Showing kids that color matters. Rainbow, trying to support the LGBT. Science, open border.
O grave faz tu.
Yeah, that's really weird. Let me see if I can figure it out. I've started with the search term long ice crystals in lake. And then I've clicked on images to look over it real quick. This one looks promising. Ice crystals form when a frozen lake melts. Yeah, that's the same stuff. That's the same stuff. Okay, so this is ice that forms when a lake melts. So it's not as it's freezing, it's when it's melting. So then I Googled ice melting falling apart, and that didn't give me anything. So then I put Wikipedia on the end of that. That didn't get me it either. But then if I put lake in there too, I get something called rotten ice. Rotten ice is a loose term for ice that is melting or structurally disintegrating due to being honeycombed by liquid air, water, or contaminants trapped between the initial growth of the ice crystals. A subset is called candle ice. It's called candle ice. This is extremely cool. So as the ice is forming, it pushes the contaminants to the side and that like hexagonal shapes as the crystal forms. And when it's melting, those parts melt first, leaving behind the candle ice.
I work hard to make this house a home.
Black man. This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now. Look what I'm whipping now. This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now. Look what I'm whipping now. Look how I'm geeking now. I'm so pretty. I'm on Gucci. I'm so pretty. I'm gonna get it. Watch me move. This is
For the boys with the boom system, Uptown, hasty with the cooler system. When they come up in the club, he be blazing up. Got stacks on deck like he's saving up. And he ill, he real, he might got a deal. He pop bottles and they got that right kind of bill. He cold, he dope, he might sell.
I apologize for my voice, as it sounds like I have been gargling gravel. But it's also, like, ultra sexy, so you're welcome. Please rate my fluffy boy, Snowman. Stupid name. This dog looks like he would play devil's advocate in a poli-sci course. Please rate my dog. His name is Jagger. I know it says Jagger, but I'm gonna say Jagger. Please, it's been years. Yep, it has been. Better late than never. This dog looks like he just found out that he has telekinesis. Millie Bobby Brown in Stranger Things. This is my dog. She is stretching. I feel like if I saw a dog do this, I would take it to the hospital. He looks like he is howling at the moon, but horizontally. Please rate my dog. This doesn't look like a dog. It looks like a costume that is vaguely dog-shaped. This dog sort of has the same vibe as Grimace. Like, I feel like if he was a mascot for McDonald's, it would make sense. Give him your worst. Or your best. It's your video, man. Well, what if I hit you with something straight down the middle? This cat looks so soft that if I were to touch it, my hand would just go straight through him. Please rate my dog, Bobby. This is quite a cartoonish animal. I can't tell if this dog is a puppy or needs to be put down tomorrow. Hi! Please review my dog. His name is Lil Uzi. Lil Uzi is the perfect name for this dog. Although this dog does not look like a dog, he looks like a cryptid. There looks to be so much anger inside of such a small body.
I'ma let my indigenous homies take this one, but some don't feel right.
And this time, we're gonna get funky. Funky. It ain't nothing. Make it bring.
Yes, the average hourly minimum wage in the United States is 29 quarters. For context, that is not even enough to fill up a roll of quarters at the bank. That would be 40 quarters.
I don't judge you based on your disability. Oh, that's tight. What do you judge me on? Your actions. The same actions that are highly influenced by my disability? Exactly. Do you take my disability into account when you're judging my actions? Of course not, because I don't define you based on your disability. I hold you to the same standards as I would anyone else because I'm inclusive. Sounds about right.
You ever lived through a recession, a housing market crash, a pandemic with no guaranteed health care, another recession, inflation, the student debt crisis, all while the billionaire class got the biggest upwards transfer of wealth in history? That's what it's like to drive the new Ford F-150.
I love knowing these idiots, with their big signs and tiny dicks have inevitably been to more Pride events than me.
If you're a white person saying this kind of thing and you're not also saying you want to go back and help people of color and black people, in my eyes, you're just saying you want to go back and be racist with no type of repercussions.
Don't you play dumb with me, young lady. You understood my instructions just fine. You're just trying to weaponize your incompetence to get out of doing anything around here, and I'm not having it. If I'd understood your instructions, don't you think I would have made the effort to follow them correctly, as opposed to getting it wrong and having to waste the rest of my afternoon listening to you lecture me about it? Oh, you are on thin ice, young lady. Don't you get smart with me. So a minute ago I was being too dumb, and now suddenly I'm being too smart. What exactly am I supposed to be, then? Well, you can just be grounded until you straighten up that attitude of yours. Go to your room.
Hand side, pass the dutchie on the left hand side. It a go bun. Give me the music, make me jump and fun. It a go done. Give me the music, make me.
Hi, I would like to place an order for a cake. Yes, of course. What kind of cake and what's the occasion? I heard you have the best red velvet cake in town, and my boyfriend and I are getting married, so we'd love one for the wedding. Oh, sorry, we don't do that around here. Oh, like you guys don't make wedding cakes here? No, we don't make gay wedding cakes. Well, I feel like that's kind of discriminatory, don't you think? No, this is a free country and I don't have to do anything for your kind. Out of curiosity, how would you feel if you went into a Starbucks and they said, sorry, we don't serve Trump supporters? Clearly I would be angry because we should be able to respect other people's opinions and political differences. But you're not respecting my differences because being gay is against my beliefs. But your political differences are against my beliefs. Well, you should respect it and serve me anyway. Just because we're different doesn't mean you should mistreat me. Isn't that exactly what you're doing to me right now? No, I'm not serving you because we have different opinions, and oh my god, I am doing the exact same thing you're accusing me of? Yes, but I'm still not making you that cake. Well, I guess I'm just gonna put out a no Trump supporter sign in front of my job then. Isn't it ironic how an oppressed group loves to oppress others? Maybe you shouldn't have right.
Some of y'all take a real sadistic pleasure in terrorizing your children with constant threats and actions of physical assault, and it shows.
Oh my gosh, I just love your matching dresses. Really? No!
Shit like this brings the movement down. Everyone's a feminist until there is a spider around.
You may have heard this alarming news story about a man who self-immolated, set himself on fire in front of the Supreme Court just a few days ago. And it's very possible that you didn't even hear about this because it didn't get much coverage. And the places that covered it, said that a man died after setting himself on fire, and that's all they said. CBS News, CNN, the New York Times, pretty much everywhere. But this man was a Buddhist and a climate activist, and he did this for a reason. He did this to call attention to the climate catastrophe that is ongoing. Now, there's a greater history here of practicing Buddhists doing this kind of very intense action to call attention to injustice. One of the most famous being Thich Quang Nguc, who did it in 1963. You can read about it. That was a huge story in 1963. That called attention to what was happening in Vietnam. News outlets in the US didn't even mention that this person was a climate activist.
I feel so bad for my first boyfriend post-transition, because I never got a girl childhood. I didn't get to go to prom, I never got asked to a middle school dance, and a boy never gave me a Valentine. And you know who's making up for all that? You, buddy boy. I don't know what you have planned for my birthday, but it better be fucking brilliant! Because you've got 35 years of boy memories to erase. By the way, is any of this fair? No. But it's what it is, goofball.
Dear white people, as we approach these tanning months, just know there isn't a single black person in the world who wants to hear, I'm almost as dark as you now. Leave that shit to yourself, and it's giving racial insensitivity, and it's showing that you ain't really been taught by your black friends as much as we thought you had. So to save us the embarrassment and save you getting your ass cussed out, keep this statement to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't want to hear about how you had sitting out into the tan, and we don't want to hear it. I only got time to explain it. We don't want to hear it, though.
First, that's not what ACAB means. ACAB doesn't mean all cops are bad. ACAB means all cops are bastards. Bastard does not mean despicable or unpleasant person. It means the word bastardized, which means corrupted or debased. Cops are inherently corrupted because, one, they can use their positions of power to inflict harm, fear, or violence on others, and many of them do. Second, the laws that they are forced to enforce are corrupt in and of themselves because many of those laws they enforce are targeted at the behavior or control of minority groups. Third, in case you didn't know, modern police is the direct descendants of slave patrols in the South. And after slavery was done, they never really went away. They just devolved into what we now know as the KKK. Or they became publicly funded in response to the growing number of immigrants, German and Irish immigrants that were coming over during the Industrial Revolution. Either way, the police have always been a force used by the arm of the state to control groups that are seen as less desirable or will threaten any other majority group's way of life. Historically, they just never been liked.
Yo, dude, so glad that you're still interested in rushing Sigma Ligma Nuts, the finest fraternity at every university ever. So yeah, before we get down to business and get you your bid, we just got a few really quick questions to kind of like check your vibe, as it were. I really just want to know like what your thoughts on like overt displays of nationalism. Yeah, like the 4th of July. Oh, so like you celebrate it? Yikes, bro, that's cringe as fuck. Well, can I ask why? Oh, because we're #1. Well, #1 in what, dog? Like, the only #1 ranking we have globally is in prison population per capita. Oh, because we're founded on like principles of freedom and equality. Well, what about the fact when the founding fathers wrote the whole "all men are created equal" part, they explicitly excluded women, blacks, the indigenous, and poor whites from that as well. Oh, but we're still the greatest country on it because, you know what, bro? Oh my god, I'm sick of this shit. Fuck you, get out, no bid.
Men protect women.
From what? From what? Tigers, lions, wild animals, dinosaurs, from what? You all have this stupid fucking conception that men protect women. Men whose job is to protect could not protect children a couple days ago. Regardless, let's get back to the question, from what? Other men? So you agree men are dangerous? Like, at least some of them are dangerous, right? Because I can already fucking hear some idiots screeching, not all men. But how are we supposed to know exactly which fucking men? How do you assess without putting yourself in danger which men are fucking dangerous? Because for all we know, there are so many men out there who are playing nice to get what they want, but when they can't, they're abusive pieces of fucking shits. So we are going to play around the idea that men protect women because you have some fucking ego trip or some shit. But we're going to dismiss the fact that men are the ones who are harming women. How about instead of preaching men protect women, we teach fucking men not to harm women and children? But no, that doesn't work, right? Because you want women and children to be fucking vulnerable so that you can step in and lure them into your fucking safety. Instead of dismantling the fucking social norms and patriarchal constructs that are causing harm to these people, you want to tell women that men are not dangerous while you know full well men are fucking dangerous. You all incels are such fucking pieces of shits.
What's the difference between coming out as queer and coming out as neurodivergent? When you tell your parents you're a flaming homosexual, you're not telling your dad that he is too.
I could have a moment of your time.
Nope. Lads, stop giving into soft porn on social media.
Bro, she just wearing a shirt. She just wearing a shirt.
The reason bottom surgery is my #1 priority is, to put it bluntly, my only transition goal is to have a hole. Fucking... Why?
It's you and me. And if only could, I'd make a deal with God, and I'd get him to swap places. Be running up that road.
Smoking my back, smoking my.
Look in my eye, don't be scared, don't be shy, come on in, the water's fine. You say the ocean's rising like I give a shit.
Not pushing your sexuality on me. I don't want to be straight. You do that for attention. I'm bisexual because I like to give head to goth women and really pretty boys. Go fuck yourself, straighty.
Is there a link between TikTok and blackface minstrelsy? Here's my analysis. Blackface minstrelsy was one of the most popular forms of entertainment in the 19th century and took place mostly in the North. These performances involved white people that imitated black people for entertainment and profit. The key words being entertainment and profit. Although the visual aspects were the most iconic in blackface minstrelsy, linguistic performances of blackness were just as important. For instance, minstrelsy quickly adapted to the radio, with shows like Two Black Crows becoming wildly popular. So what does that have to do with TikTok exactly? Now is probably a good time to reintroduce digital blackface. Digital blackface was coined by Black social media users and was popularized by Lauren and Michelle Jackson in this article. It can be understood as a practice of non-Black internet users blacking up their online persona through the use of Black reaction GIFs, images, videos, and vernacular. What I'm getting at here is that TikTok's ability to disconnect the sound from the context of its original video is maybe enabling a new form of digital blackface. What we're seeing is that non-Black TikTok users are literally using Black folks' voices to humorously articulate their own experience. This in turn is done to entertain and increase social capital, aka clout. I can already kind of anticipate critics saying that everyone's voice is getting reused if it's funny enough. Which is a good point, but not when you consider historical context and power relations. So what do y'all think?
You guys know what genre of music sucks? Swag rock.
Walk back down, good, stand by, go.
I have a problem. Well, I have a lot of problems. Here's this problem. I don't want to work for money. I will work for just about any other reason that I can convince myself has value, right? I'll work for me. I'll work for my pleasure. I'll work for my projects, my creativity. I'll work for a friend's needs. I'll work to help someone in need. But for money, I can't convince myself that money is real and that I need to chase it. I don't know what happened. I don't know what switch in my brain. I'm pretty sure that most of what I'm describing is not capitalism. And if I did a little bit of study, I could come up with the right word for what I'm describing. But I just need to find some way that I can just live my life, chase my bliss, help who I can, and that be survivable, please.
It's Pride Month, so it's time for a very spicy take on queerness. I feel like there's so much exclusionist discourse that could be ended immediately if our interpretation of queerness wasn't specifically linked to sexuality and gender, but rather to like deviation from heteropatriarchal and capitalist societal norms. Like 100% the cishet dude who lives in like Mississippi or something who expresses his masculinity by dressing up in drag is like far more queer than some random white gay dude on Wall Street. I will never understand this need to drive people away from like the club of queerness. Isn't the whole point to abolish these rigid social norms that keep us all in place? Why do y'all think that the best way to go about that is by enacting even more rigid social norms? Queerness should be about freedom.
Well, friends, another day of chopping wood, another day of thinking about how our elected officials have failed us once again. Roe versus Wade getting overturned while we have a Democrat for president should end the myth of electoralism. Our power is within our communities and our collective resistance, and not with parties who have always been against us. These politicians ran on lies that they never planned to follow through with, and essentially they have allowed corrupt corporations to buy our elections. This system rewards corruption, and the pursuit of money and power will always put profit over people. So when you want state intervention, you'll always end up with political corruption. The biggest companies in America got trillions of dollars richer, while millions in the most vulnerable of our communities died. This is a broken system that only serves the ruling class interest. Not to mention our generation has had the highest rate of suicide that we've ever seen, and for a lot of it, it's known that a few dozen companies have caused catastrophic effects for the climate around the world. And while we'll have to experience crop failure and extreme temperatures, the rich will start space programs and get to live out their old age on another planet. Community gardening, medical care, community defense, and class consciousness will be key to a revolution. Friends, we're at a tipping point in human history. We either take back the power and give it back to the people, or we die trying.
Y'all know how strikes work? Obviously, they don't want you to know how to strike, so they don't teach us that in school. They love to talk about strikes and historical strikes, and we talk about strikes in the news, but I'm not sure if we know how strikes work. Your strike is not going to be effective if the only people who are striking are the people who can afford it. That's not how the strategy around the foundation of the philosophy of a strike, it's not how it works. There's actually not a big enough demographic of masses or working class people who can actually afford to strike long enough that it would be an effective strategy to actually push the state into what you're trying to get them to do. Because an effective strike can last upwards of months. When preparing for a strike, which sometimes can take, again, 6 months to a year and a half to actually prepare and stock up the resources that you need to actually go on strike, you have to have those already set up so the people who can't afford to go on strike can still go on strike. Oftentimes these are called strike funds, and it's a requirement so that people can last the war of attrition over time that it takes to actually be able to effectively run a strike. If you are in the demographic of people who can afford to strike right now, meaning that you have enough funds in your savings to probably be able to support yourself for, I would say, 6 to 8 months actually, then actually one of the most effective things that you could do for the future would be to put that money aside in a group or community or collective strike fund for your local physical community. So you could help out others around you and not expect individuals to have to bring their own resources to a collectivist strategy. And the best way to actually do this is to build the interpersonal relationships with the individuals within community, and then the resources will come. The buildings, the water, it will come. You have to build the relationships first. And don't limit yourself to geographical locations. You can move all the people you want to the community y'all want to live in. It doesn't have to be the physical people around you right now. Effective strategy comes from not just knowing how and why it works, but having a purpose in action.
The red looks good on you.
Thanks, dude.
It suits you. You should wear red more often.
You got it.
Tradition wants control over my body. Obligation tells me who I should be. Every woman should do as she pleases.
What's your favorite surprisingly deep quote from an unlikely source?
For me, it's everything not saved will be lost, which was the quit screen message on the original Nintendo.
Is it okay to laugh at America anymore?
No, and it never was okay to laugh at people's pain. You guys laughing at our lack of social services, our lack of healthcare, our lack of transportation, our lack of education, and our lack of common sense gun legislation, and laughing at our school shootings, yeah, that shit was never okay to make fun of in the first place. Because you were laughing at our pain. It's never okay to laugh at anyone's pain.
Hey, are you Asian? Yeah, I am. Nice. My wife's Asian. You know her?
What is this, honey? I was shocked, honey. I was in tears almost. And it had a white refrigerator. I was like, oh.
Do communists have better sex? According to a comparative sociological study outlined by Kristen Godsey, Women in East Germany reportedly had twice as many orgasms as their Western counterparts. Nah, that's cap, right? As it turns out, it's true, and the reasoning is fairly simple. Capitalism and heteropatriarchy are intrinsically connected, and as a result, sex is tied to the institution of marriage. Traditionally speaking, in the West, child-rearing and domestic work, which are unpaid labor, were reserved for women, while the man went to his job and earned a wage. So women were financially dependent on men and were deterred from and punished in most cases for exploring their sexuality. All of these propaganda films aired in the West about making sure your man is pleased with a full stomach and warning about the dangers of promiscuous women. In East Germany, however, which was reflective of much of the socialist East at the time, sex wasn't tied to an institution. And even more importantly, women made up a key part of the labor force during the post-war era. Large kindergartens existed at workplaces to ensure everyone's children were taken care of, and consequently, women had a lot more autonomy and were free to explore sexually. So things like sex education and contraceptives were widely accepted and available, as evidenced by this condom dispensing machine from East Germany.
Way to run your attention. Asian hate needs to be talked about, so let's talk about it. I already talked about it a lot, but for the people that are not aware, Asian hate is basically the discrimination against Asians, and this happens a lot. Whether that would be getting attacked on the street because you're Asian, or having Asian slurs screamed at you, things like that. Let me just remind everyone, this all happens because they're Asian, nothing else. Why is this still happening today? A few months ago, an Asian guy was attacked and nearly died, all for the fact that he was Asian. And what's worse is that these people never get their consequences. Society has normalized Asian hate so much, to the point where we don't even say anything about this, or we don't question it. People will say end racism, but still make Asian jokes, and it's all absolutely disgusting. And it is a big issue in today's society. People always stereotype them and say, oh, Asians are so smart, they're so good at math. But even though that's not a negative, it's still stereotyping them. People don't realize it because that's not saying anything bad. But at the end of the day, that's still stereotyping. So everyone, please spread this message. Stop Asian hate. Comment that if you made this one of the video. Thank you guys all so much, and link to my about to hope.
What can you tell about this person? And what about them? Artist Shabala Self creates avatars to investigate the way we read and judge people. She creates them out of collaged, repurposed fabrics. They might be seen as layered or disjointed, but they're certainly not perfect representations. And she doesn't want to create perfection, literally or figuratively. She says the problem with creating a perfect figure is that you're creating another myth. There are already enough myths around the black body. The perfect black person is another fantasy. No body functions like that in the real world. The works are meant to make us think about why we read these figures as black women, which Self says they are, but their features are so vague. She over-exaggerates certain forms in the body while obscuring others. In some works, Self places her subjects in a bodega, similar to the ones she grew up around in Harlem. The bodega space, common in black neighborhoods in New York, emphasize that her subjects, these avatars, are just regular people. She's playing here with the idea that black people are always scrutinized, even in their own spaces, and when her work is viewed by white audiences, she's emphasizing the judgments that are placed on black people. Her avatars are tricking their viewer, whether they're being glorified or scrutinized, into assigning judgments of race, gender, status, or personality. But the reality of these collages and the people that they represent is that they're made up of many parts. In this case, these collages are not really people, they're just shapes.
I want to be a teacher, but I can't because I'm autistic. When I say that, I'm not talking about the kids. I can be entirely myself. I can be weird. I can unmask around the kids, and they love it, and they respect it, and it's so refreshing for them, and they make that very clear. I have taught before, and it's wonderful. In the public education system, all the adults you have to deal with, all the work you have to do that doesn't make sense, the other ways it encourages burnout. I feel like I can't follow my passions because of the way society has set up not just education, but certain jobs in general. Like, as autistic people, what are we supposed to do when the things that we enjoy, the only way to make a living out of them is to be miserable? So here I am pursuing other jobs that I know will respect my time, even though they're not necessarily what I feel fulfilled doing, because I know I would be miserable and exploited in the industries or whatever's of what I actually want to do.
Unfortunately, due to capitalism being at the root of everything, I have decided that in order to align with my highest self, I will never be doing anything ever again.
Make a video and I'm a ride you like a rodeo.
love women. Put a finger down if you 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 women. Put it down if you women. If you really want, if you women and you like and you want to kiss women. Put a finger down if you women and you really like women and you love. I love women and kiss me, please, please. Oh me, oh my.
Is God opposed to abortion? There's no ban on abortion in Islam. There's no ban on abortion at any point, for any reason, by any method.
All right, okay. In Judaism, abortion is permitted, and where the pregnant person's life is at stake, it's required, because the health and well-being of the pregnant person comes first.
Okay. Jamie. A little more complicated.
Bad news. Well, let's bear in mind that what I'm about to say is a teaching created by men who are ostensibly celibate, who have no inroads or connection to the lives of women because they do not have wives, they do not have daughters.
Great start.
Yeah. And the Catholic Church teaches that in almost every circumstance, abortion is murder.
Is it in the Bible?
No.
This video is for fat people and for people who love fat people. So I was on the bus the other day and I saw this gorgeous fat woman. We had very, very similar super fat body types. And I had a very mind-blowing, like, perception, weird out-of-body experience. I noticed her doing something that I know that I do, but I never knew what I looked like doing it. If you're fat, you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. So let's say you're on the bus or you're on the subway with a non-fat friend. If you're gonna share like the love seat, right? Like the two-seater, I guarantee that you're gonna wanna sit on the outside, right? And when you sit on the outside, I bet you that you do whatever it takes to not let your thigh touch your friend's thigh. Which means that most probably you are letting half of your leg or maybe your full ass butt cheek hang over the side and you are so uncomfortable, but to you it means that you're making enough space for your friend. Like you're not invading your friend's space by being fat. Anybody else doing this? I do this all the time. Now, I never thought much of it. I just really didn't want to like be perceived as fat. I didn't want to take up too much space. I didn't want to get into my friend's personal space, yada, yada, yada. But witnessing this gorgeous, fat, young girl sitting so uncomfortably and letting her leg just hang off the side while her very straight-bodied friend had so much room in the gap and was just chilling out. It really made me question, why are we making ourselves extra uncomfortable in seats that are not made for us so that we can make the people that we're with more comfortable, people who the seats are literally designed for? Why aren't they making extra room for us to feel more comfortable? Sorry, my cat's in the way here. When I noticed this, I saw what I looked like, and I thought to myself, I'm not doing this anymore. If I'm with a loved one or a friend who can't stand the feeling of my legs taking up a little extra space on their side, then that person's definitely not the right friend for me. You know what I mean? I was literally sitting with a straight-sized friend when I noticed this, and I was like, oh my god, I'm doing the exact same thing. My butt is hanging off the side. So I just scooched right in. And my thigh touched my friend's thigh, and that was it. She didn't think anything of it. And boom, I was 100 times more comfortable. So, all to say, if you are fat, take up some more space. Get comfortable, especially if you're sharing the love seat with someone who loves you. If for some reason that person has a problem with you guys touching, then that's their problem. You know what I mean? Thanks for tuning in. That's it.
I'm a homosexual. I'm a homosexual.
Congratulations.
on the bluff. They say they be talking them plays, but we be calling they bluff. On that X, I'm playing charades. I know we talking too much. Niggas still out pump, figure they swinging on runs. I bet the hoe be pounding the blunt. Okay.
The musket shoots 2 to 3 bullets per minute. What the founding fathers had in mind. Also, I want to say that the reason the musket is in the Second Amendment, which I'm sure you know this, right? So I'm trying to figure out really the meaning of the post, other than I'm wondering if you're using the same talking point that a lot of liberals use, and that is the fact that, oh, well, the Second Amendment was only designed for muskets. No, the Second Amendment was designed to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say keep and bear arms of the times when this document is created, right? So it just says keep and bear arms. And at the time, the only arms that were around are those. And now, obviously, we've progressed to where there's crazy amounts of varieties of weapons. It's like saying, oh, well, we have freedom of speech, but only whenever the document was written. It only pertained to speech back then. And I disagree with you, bud.
Number 1, we ain't buddies. Number 2, why you purposely being obtuse? What is well regulated about anything you just said? Number 3, you so lost in the sauce about partisanship politics. As soon as somebody start opposing your weak ass political positions, you automatically assume they the ops. Let me tell you something, man. Number 4, I can give a better criticism and critique of liberalism and Democrats than you ever could dream of. Number 5, bro, you look like one of them WWF tag team wrestlers from the 90s. Do you know that? Number 6, the Second Amendment starts off with the phrase of a well-regulated militia. My question is to you, where is your militia and who is regulating it? And who gets to dictate if it's well-regulated or not? Number 7, like CD said in your comment section, so why aren't you fighting to legally buy grenades or rocket launchers? A well-regulated militia, that's what the Second Amendment states. Number 8, let's play this little game because you purposely being obtuse. Like this person said in your comment section, so why did you let the government make atomic machine guns illegal? Number 9, if you know anything about American history, it tell you that the government always already has the capacity to put down whatever little rebellion, malicious shit you want to pull against this statute social order it got. Number 10, your name is very fitting, outspoken heathen, whatever the hell that is, but it's obvious you've met your match.
Non-binary people do not owe you androgyny. They do, however, owe you a little dance or a jig.
Be a man. What? You're a total anti-sexist, a patriarchy fighter, but your whole worldview collapses the moment there's a spider. Cool.
It's about damn time. In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Feeling fussy, walking in my Balenciennes, trying to bring out the fat bit lust. Cause I give a fuck way too much. I'ma need like 2 shots in my.
When I meet a fellow Asian American and I want to know which way they lean politically, I ask them one question. Who was the bad guy in Crazy Rich Asians? Rachel's mom was the bad guy. Like, why was she even poor in the first place? It's called Crazy Rich Asians. Rachel was the bad guy. She was so loud. Women need to learn their place. Also, I hate Constance Wu. Those 2 brown guys in that one scene. Kevin Kwan, actually, for writing the book. My perspective is so unique. I think Eleanor was the bad guy. Like, I just don't understand why she couldn't let Nick and Rachel just do what they wanted. Nick was the bad guy because he just dropped Rachel in the war zone that was his family without telling her anything. And then when she came back and was like, hey, this happened, he was like, Nick, Eleanor, and all the other rich people in that movie are billionaires. They're class enemies, and therefore they're the bad guys because they made their wealth off of land development.
So yesterday, my friend sent me the screenshot of this girl on Twitter getting mad because someone said the 4th of July was canceled. So I wanted to address it here. First of all, if you want to celebrate 4th of July, that's on you. That's your choice. Nobody's stopping you from doing that. Go ahead. But also, you can't get mad because people choose not to celebrate it or they want to say it's canceled or protest it. They have every right to do that. The 4th of July is celebrating a freedom that wasn't granted to Black Americans because they were still enslaved when the Declaration of Independence was signed. Black Americans weren't granted freedom until about 87 years later. As we've seen lately, the systemic oppression of Black people continues to this day. That's seen in over-policing, police brutality, the prison industrial complex, which is basically just modern-day slavery, and so much more, including the never-ending list of unarmed Black people killed by police. You can't expect people to celebrate a country that doesn't celebrate them, or to celebrate a freedom that historically doesn't include them. The 4th of July has never really been about collective freedom or liberation, especially on land that was stolen from indigenous people. All men are created equal, but we're not treated as such. We weren't then and we aren't now.
Explain something that was done for you as a kid that still impacts you to this day. I'm thinking back to when I was 9 or 10 years old. We were poor. Like sometimes my mother had to choose between paying the light and a water bill. I also had a stepfather who was addicted to drugs. And me and my older brother knew that if we ever wanted something extra, like a trip to McDonald's or a pizza or some clothes, we had to find a way to get it ourselves. So I would ring doorbells and see if I could take out trash for $1 or a quarter. We had this Coke bottle shaped piggy bank that we would put a bunch of coins and dollars into and just kind of save up our money. I wanted to go on a trip with my basketball team. We're going to go to West Virginia, play in a basketball tournament. I needed food money. We're going to stay at the Marriott. I think it was all going to cost about $100. I mean, the piggy bank was like 3 feet tall and I filled it up at least a foot. But I woke up the morning of the trip and the money was gone. The piggy bank was empty. My stepfather had taken it and disappeared. My mother called my basketball coach and said we weren't going to make the trip. We couldn't afford it. He said, oh, don't even worry about it. We got a booster club for times like this. We'll take care of the trip. We'll make sure they're fed. We'll be good to go. He was lying. We didn't have a booster club. He was paying for it out of his own pocket. He just knew my mother wouldn't take it. He made sure I didn't miss out on anything. At that age, I was kind of just barely holding on because a lot of things were coming at me that were too much for me to cope with. And when I realized the money was gone, I was crying mad. I wasn't a kid that cried a lot, but I was so pissed off. I wanted to. But in that moment, I was presented an alternative model of what a man could be. I was impressionable and he made the right impression and I never forgot about it. Even when I started my own organization, I made sure it was free for all kids because I didn't want any young person to be in a position where they felt like they were undeserving because they didn't have the money.
If this is on your feed, keep watching this video. The Black community needs your attention. Alright, so as you guys can see here, it's the 2-year anniversary of George Floyd's death. And in 2020 when this happened, everybody was talking about it. They were posting black screens or talking about BLM. And now 2 years later, nobody's talking about it. And how do we expect racism to end or police brutality if nobody talks about it? All the people that were talking about it being activists in 2020 are silent now. But black issues are still important. And multiple black people since George Floyd have suffered due to police brutality. So we can't stop talking about it. The more society stays silent, the more black people we lose due to racism or police brutality. Like, look at the people that we lost. Amir Law and multiple other black people because we didn't talk about it. People's lives are in danger and that's the truth. You cannot say otherwise. So use your voice, speak up. It doesn't matter if you have 1 follower or 1 million. Black lives will always matter. It doesn't matter if it's a trend or not. So I'm pleased with this message. Get this out there. And if you made this part of the video, comment the word jeans in the comments. Thank you guys all so much. Link tree in bio.
How the fuck did you get on my For You page?
This week has been wild. I have had thousands of people say that I, a disabled, trans non-binary combat veteran, have no idea what it's like to have to fight for my rights. Really? Really? Now I understand the box this all comes in, so I can see why people would make snap judgments and why they would write such woefully ignorant comments. And frankly, I'm just glad to see so many people politically motivated now that they've finally recognized the fascism because it's coming for them. But boy howdy is the potential of losing your rights in the future not a great excuse to attack marginalized groups that, you know, have had to fight their whole lives to be considered people. LGBTQ folks have enjoyed marriage for what, a decade? And disabled people can't even get married because it messes up their disability. Maybe we focus our ire on the fascists and not each other. Just a thought.
I've been going through something. 1,855 days.
You want some facts? I'll give you some facts. If the United States saw what the United States was doing in the United States would invade the United States to liberate the United States from the tyranny that the United States is doing to the United States.
I'm very vocal about art that I don't like, so let me talk to you about Damien Hirst. For anyone unfamiliar with the name, Damien Hirst is one of the richest artists alive. One of his most famous pieces is putting animals of formaldehyde. You may have seen this diamond human skull. He's also the guy that designed the most expensive hotel room at $100,000 per night. He's the guy that did Drake's album cover. He is just a businessman masquerading as an artist. I don't like this guy. Whenever I talk about not liking Damien Hirst, I'll always get comments like, well, I went to one of his art exhibitions and I think that his work is really interesting, and sure, I don't think that it's boring, I think that it's inauthentic. You see, Damien Hirst doesn't actually make his own work. He's very well known for these spots that he draws, and he has over 1,000 pieces, all made by his assistants. He only actually painted like 25. The diamond encrusted skull was made by a jeweler, and the stuffed shark was produced by MDM Prop London. Look, I'm all good with artists like working in teams, having assistants, cool. But here's the thing, he doesn't come up with the ideas. This guy has been accused of plagiarism, copyright, and art theft so many times, stealing work from smaller artists and making millions off of it. You see this piece? I think Kanye West bought this. Boom. So don't come up with your own ideas, you don't actually participate in the execution. In what way are you an influential artist? Take off the price tag, take off the name tag. What value does Damien Hirst's work actually bring into the art world?
My name is Nayar Taminga. I am 13 years old. I've lived in Grand Rapids almost my whole life. I'm going to say it again, I'm 13 years old. All of you are adults. Adults, right? You can drive, you can drink, you can vote. I don't have that. When I asked my mom if I could be dropped off here, her response was, is it safe? Is it safe? You know, we had someone come up here and talk, don't teach our children to disobey those who are protecting us. I don't see them protecting me. If you want to talk about those protecting me, I look to those who are standing right now because my trust isn't in them. I don't trust any of you. I don't trust any of the police officers because you have shown time and time again that we cannot trust you. I go to City High Middle School, just voted the top high school in the state. You know what they teach us? Teach us to speak up for yourself. We're IB learners, right? We're smart. None of you are smart. None of you can recognize murderers. You can identify that there is a problem, but you cannot fix it. I don't know much about the law. Again, I'm young, but I'm pretty sure an accomplice to a murder should be arrested. And right now, all of you sitting and doing nothing are accomplices to a murder.
Please refrain from the additional commentary. If you could let her finish.
I am sorry, they are fine. I'm still allowing to speak.
Go ahead. Please, go ahead.
I am frustrated, and frustrated can't even begin how absolutely terrified I am to live here. I'm expected to raise my kids here. I'm expected to go outside and walk my 5-year-old little brother. God forbid we look too scary. God forbid he accidentally is wearing his hood and we get the police called on us because we are window shopping to go steal later. I don't want to keep coming here. Trust me, this is not how I want to spend my night. I don't want to come here. I don't want to sit here and I don't want to have to beg you to stop killing people. That's not what I want to do. I have friends, I have other things that I could be doing, and I'm sitting in front of a group of adults who think murder is okay. And you can't sit here and tell me you don't think murder is okay because you're allowing it to happen. If you want to talk about God, you want to talk about Jesus, I'm a Christian. I don't know what God some of these people believe in, but it sure ain't mine. I have never read in the Bible where he said we should allow the people who are supposed to be protecting us kill us. I'm sorry, maybe I missed that scripture though. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Please, please do not make me sit here and scream another name. Do not sit here and make me beg. And God forbid that name is mine. God forbid that name is any of these people. God forbid. Thank you.
Thank you.